Awesome. And we're good to go. Quick pivot. And I lost you. I think I pulled the cord again.
Bad design on the Blue Yeti.
Yeah.
It wasn't pulled the cord. It's the
mute
button is right where you want to grab to move the mic. And it's so sensitive. You just brush it and it mutes.
Yeah. So I know you said you have an older one. I have one. Now, is it a raised button?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The one I have is raised, but you have to like really push it. So I'm wondering if the one I have is kind of like a design correction for that exact reason that you're running into.
I'm pulling up Amazon, and it probably make me. Let me see how good their search functionality is. I'm gonna search my order history, and there it is. Oh, it's not as old as I thought. I bought it on March 15th, 2011.
Okay.
It's but what is that?
11 years.
11 years old. So,
yeah.
Yeah, it's got a raised button on it that it's not one of those. Is it tactile buttons that you have to really click? Yeah. It's like you brush it and it triggers. So
no, mine is the former there. Like you really have to push it. And actually one of the things is with the mute button, because it goes in the other direction as far as sensitivity, like you actually hear it click when you unmute.
Oh,
like it actually, the recording will actually pick it up. That's how loud that one is. So
yeah, mine's nothing like that. So I just have to remember not to grab it right there.
Yeah,
constantly muting myself. But we have the same covers. We have the same. What is this one called? The I don't know. I got this set with this one, and then like the like muff one that looks like feathers.
Yeah.
I don't know if it does any good difference, but psychologically it makes me sound like I'm more radio tuned.
Nice.
Yeah. So that is that. It's a nice day. I'm trying to enjoy having the window open and hear the birds and stuff before it gets 90 degrees today. So
yeah, we got the AC going, but I think I'm going to head out this afternoon and work from the patio, because normally Wednesdays are like my meeting days, but just with a bunch of things happening this week, pretty much most of them got canceled. So I've got a free afternoon. So I think, I'm going to go outside for a little bit this afternoon and enjoy the nice weather. It's humid, but not overly hot.
Humid's okay as long as you don't get into the high 80s, low 90s, then it becomes unbearable, I think. Although I don't know, like here 35% humidity is high, so I don't really know what high humidity is.
Yeah. Suzanne made some friends at the library. She was at like story time and met this mom who was like new to the area by like a year or so. And she texted her recently, like, how do you folks survive the humidity here? I think they were like from Utah or Colorado. So they're not used to this kind of humidity. And Suzanne's like, days like this, neck deep in water.
Yep. I don't know that I'd be able to dill. I would stay inside. Or at the swimming pool.
Yeah.
Or at the shore.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is as long as you got a nice little sea breeze going, it's not as bad.
Yeah.
But that brings me to our topic today. So to intro our topic, last week, Elon Musk sent out a memo to employees of Tesla and forbidding remote work, and even setting the expectation of being in the office for 40 hours a week.
Minimum.
Yeah, that's the key word. Minimum 40 hours a week.
And that's a whole other podcast episode, by the way.
Yeah. So I saw that, I was reading it, and his reasoning for it is, the kind of products that they're trying to build, require everyone to be in a central location. And I'll admit, you and I cover remote work often here. It's one of our topics. It's one of the things, like even our clients have come to us asking us, like, how do you do this? How do you work 100% remote? Like, what benefits have you seen from it, to how do you do it? Like, what are some of the habits you've put in place? So I don't want to get into the remote work versus office work debate again. I saw that and I'm like, I don't want to do that, but I want to talk about it and I want to actually have some fun with it. Because come on, we're also into the summer. Like, let's have some fun with
Yeah.
things. So what I wanted to do is in that context of building, revolutionary products and building great products people want to buy, where's some fun places you work from? Like, I want to talk about that, like interesting places. People are like, really, you could do work there. I want to kind of get into that topic.
I think my most favorite place ever, and I think we recorded a podcast episode from
Is this
there.
from San Diego, from the
Yeah.
rooftop? Yeah,
Yeah.
we did.
So I was in San Diego for 10 days and got, is it Marriott? Like the long stay, I think it's Marriott, and they have like these long stay locations that
Hmm.
it's like condos. So, kitchen, full blown everything. Um, and stayed there. And as part of that condo unit thing, there was a clubhouse, and on top of the clubhouse was this rooftop deck that every morning I'm like, that's my spot.
Hmm.
I'm claiming my spot up there.
Nice.
Like you could feel the sea breeze coming in, and just amazing. And so I ended up working from there, and we ended up, I think, recording a podcast episode, I want to say with John, from there. And there was the thing I remember is there was the loud air conditioner unit on top that would kick on every once in a while. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the AC coming on, so you just have to ignore that. But such a good and fun, memorable experience to do that. I mean, I think that probably the easiest thing to do is list out like locations, right?
Mhm.
So for me, my go-to place is Southern California. So it's, working from San Diego, working from Santa Monica, working from, all these places along the coast. I think I did a couple weeks in Las Vegas and Mesquite, Nevada, because I was there for soccer tournaments. So I very much remember doing some work, and then going to the soccer field and watching soccer games. Like that flexibility, and not that you have to be always on work, but the ability to be connected and just go to other places and work. It's so refreshing. And I know we don't want to get into the whole debate of remote work versus not remote work, but one of the things that opponents of remote work say is that you can't be creative remote. Creativity happens in the office. But I will tell you that some of my most creative moments have been because I went to some new location and had new experiences, and it created all these new insights and creativity. And those are the things that I remember. But sometimes it's just something super simple. I think I went to an Italian deli in Salt Lake and worked from their patio once, and it's like,
Mhm.
I don't have to get on that plane or go any great distances to enjoy working in remote places. I think that's one of the things that you and I have talked a lot about, is that we don't take advantage of our autonomy and flexibility as much as we should. And we think, it's cool, we can go to these remote places that are, in other states or other countries and work. But the reality is we have that opportunity every day. We don't have to be stuck in our home office.
Mhm.
We can go down to the street or to another city or do something, and that can be a very meaningful and enjoyable remote work experience as well. And something that I think that, again, we kind of take for granted, that we don't have that flexibility, that we have that flexibility.
Yeah, no, totally. Because you get so into the weeds, and there's so many things I want to say, because I was actually writing notes as you were talking, because you touched on a few things I want to talk about with this. So I made some notes, and I want to come back and unpack each of those. But to kind of keep the initial part of the conversation going, like my go-to when people talk about, like, well, where have you worked from, is I've worked from Disneyland in California. So for the story that people, for people who haven't heard it, I flew out to Anaheim to run one of the Run Disney marathon events. It was their half marathon. It was the fall of 2017. And so, of course, like, it's not just flying out for the day to do it. Like, I did 3 races in a row. Like, I did like one of their challenge things. And then just for me getting out to California, and then, like, you have to go, you have to check in, pick up all your packet, pick up your packet with all the information. So, like, I I was gone for like a week. I flew out um I flew out like on a Wednesday and flew home the following Tuesday night. So it wasn't like just a quick weekend away. Um so what I did is I split my time there between doing the race stuff, some fun stuff, and getting work done while I was there. So in between the two theme parks is they have this like shopping area that they call Downtown Disney. And there's a Starbucks there. So each day what I would do is I was leave my hotel room. Like the first day I got there, left my hotel room, had my backpack with me, so I had my laptop, went over to the expo center, picked up my race packet information, and then went and hung out at that Starbucks right outside, the gates of Disneyland and California Adventure, and got work done. Caught up with clients, sent emails, and did all of that stuff. Like, kept projects moving, and actually took calls from there and from the courtyard at the Grand Californian Hotel. And I didn't hide where I was at. Like, this is, I think at this point, like, the first 2 years where I was here, when I would work remotely, I would hide it. At this point, I didn't hide it anymore. Like, I was on the phone with a client, and they had a major project going that we were playing a support role. We weren't the main team implementing it. And our key stakeholder, she and I had multiple calls, and I told her where I was working from. And like most people think, oh, I can't tell them because they're gonna think I'm not working, I'm not getting stuff done. No, she was like, oh, that is so cool. Like, I remember standing in the courtyard, and the Disneyland monorail would run overhead as we were talking. And it was a great experience to do that, because and this is obviously 3 years before COVID, before everyone was pushed to work remotely. Working remotely was seen as either like, you're kind of doing your own thing, or you're a slacker.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't seen as some kind of, it was becoming, but it wasn't yet really seen as like a mainstream way of doing work. And I did. Like, I got to, and honestly, I got to do everything, for lack of a better way of saying it. Like, I got the best of both worlds. I made sure work kept going. Um, Especially, like, in some places where, like, you have a set number of vacation days or anything like that. Like, I was able to keep work going, but then also experience a new location and have some fun,
Yeah.
and whatnot. And yeah, I took a couple of days off, and after the races, I went to the theme park for 2 days to do that before coming back home.
So two items that you make me want to follow up on. So the first one, and again, kind of getting a little bit off track of favorite places to work, but the first one is there is this reemergence, and I think it's primarily clickbait. I don't know, but I've seen lately on LinkedIn an overwhelming number of articles of remote work was a fad. We're finding out now that we could tough it out for 2 years during a pandemic, but we're finding out it completely doesn't work now, and we have to go back to the office. I find it really interesting in your point of not hiding it, that we hear from business gurus and leaders that it doesn't work. We have to be in the office. Have you talked to any customers that you've been open with and shared where you're working from that said, Jim, you got to get to an office so you can provide us better services? Or have the majority of them said, damn, I wish I could do that?
I mean, not directly, but have I heard the conversation of, you're not getting stuff done. Like, we have serious concerns about this initiative we're working on, or these deliverables for this part of the engagement. Like, and we think that's because you're not working. We think that's because you're not sitting in an office and someone's looking over your shoulders and saying, get this done. And I think that honestly, I think is to be able to do this, to be able to work from interesting locations for quote unquote fun locations, there's a shit ton of trust.
Yeah.
Trust between you and your leadership team and you and whomever is your client, whether it's an internal team, an external company your organization is partnered with. You have to build up that trust. And but yeah, like if I go back, I have yet wants to hear like, hey, we're concerned because you're not in an office. And yeah, I mean, like there have been conversations where it's like, yeah, that's really neat that you're doing that. That's
Yeah.
really, really fun. That you're able to do that.
Yeah, I think that's the overwhelming majority of the responses that I've seen from people is again from managers, from leadership we hear it doesn't work, but you talk to every one of the employees and they're like, we wish we could do that. I want
Mhm.
that. So there seems to be a disconnect between what management wants and what employees want. And sure, I mean there's people that crave being in the office and it's been hard, and not that this is perfect, there are its challenges, but most people that are working in knowledge, in the knowledge industry, they want the autonomy and flexibility to work wherever.
Yeah.
And as a side note, as you brought up trust, and then I'll get to my second topic, there was a funny tweet that Jen tweeted out a couple weeks ago where she's like, in past jobs, I really went out of my way to hide it if I went out and did something in the afternoon. And she's like, but it's so weird now because if I go out and do something fun in the afternoon, my boss gets mad at me if I don't share it on what I'm doing. So I thought
Yeah.
that was a funny observation from her. So my second point is, what is your response, or what do you think about, because I guarantee you there are people listening to this episode right now that are saying, yeah, but Jim, you're at Disney World, like you shouldn't care about work at all, why are you even thinking about working?
Yeah.
What's your response?
That's actually one of the ones I wanted to follow up on, because when you get into this topic, you're also going to hear the argument of it completely blurs the line between work and home, because that's also one of the detractions with the mass move to remote work, and a lot of people now saying I want to stay at home. Some people are arguing that the lines have been blurred, and that can actually happen. I'm not going to say that could never ever happen, but the way I look at it and being out there is that spending some of my time working actually increased the amount of time I could spend there. Working from a location like that and doing it and trying to do it more often, to me actually expands my possibilities to go do fun things
Yeah.
or spend more time traveling or just spending time out of the office, because and yeah, you to take advantage of it, I'm going to say what I've said multiple times before: you need a level of discipline,
Yeah.
because you're right. Could I easily have spent that trip working? Yes, but did I know? Like, I was able to spend a week away.
Yeah.
Clients did not feel like work wasn't done. The company didn't feel like work wasn't done. At least clients felt like I at least spent time touching base with them while I'm traveling. Things continued to move, and yes, I did take downtime to go experience some of the things there.
Yeah, you bring up some really valuable points in that it I think it's breaking down this barrier that work happens between 9 and 5 Monday through Friday. And yes, there has to be a lot of discipline there because that potentially causes a lot of bleed over to what's personal, what's work, what's a combination thereof. But this idea that I can only do work during these times, I think not only holds us back, I think it creates a lot of unnecessary stress on just how we live our lives in general. And while it is very important that we take down times where we literally just shut our brain off and say, I'm not going to think about work for 2 weeks, there are lots of times where just a little bit of work, and again, because we're not measured on did we work 8 hours a day, we have this very real possibility. And I'm going to go back to my experience sitting on the rooftop deck in San Diego, is I could do 2 hours of work on that roof and then feel like I was able to get some important things done that I needed to get done, and then fully enjoy being in the moment and the location I was in. Not having that opportunity to do that oftentimes weighed very heavily on me, especially before 33 Sticks. Think about going on vacation at a previous employer. What's going through your mind while you're trying to enjoy your vacation? I wonder how many thousand emails are in my inbox and the 50 million things I got to do catch up on when I get back, right? So sometimes a quick phone call here, a quick email there, a quick, log in and look at the data here can just be a few moments, but allow you to truly be present in your location that you're enjoying, because you can now let that go.
Yeah. In the past, I would have panic attacks leading up to vacation because it was like, do I have everything done? Is anything going to blow up while I'm gone? What kind of fire am I going to walk back into? Like the anxiety of when I go back to work next week am I going to be confronted with a mess is real. And what I'm talking about with this topic is not being tethered to the office. I'm not talking about like actual vacation time, because I'll tell you
Yeah.
this, I know people who work in an office, spend 40 hours a week in an office, and are still checking their email on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like, um, I'm going to be away from home for 2 weeks. I'm going to check in the first couple days, check in the last couple days, do a little bit of work from the patio of wherever we're staying, but then I'm going out with the family later.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that I really want to start doing this summer is like on Friday mornings, my wife will take my son to story time at the local library. And they do it in the spring, and then they stop for a couple weeks, and they do it again in the summer, and then they do it again in the fall. Um, this summer, one of the things I want to do is I've really worked to clear Fridays. Like I have no meetings on Fridays,
It's the way to
none.
do it. Yeah.
Like Fridays is my time. Friday is my time to take the iPad and just go somewhere and start writing down ideas, start planning for the coming weeks. Like go back and say, do I have everything in order? What do I need to do next? Is everything up to date or whatnot? Just kind of getting away from the office so I can start to think about that. But one of the things I want to start doing is going with her to story time, taking the
Mm-hmm.
iPad and sitting there during story time, and then he'll go off and play at the playground. And again, the argument would be like, well, are you truly present? I am more present than I would be sitting at home while the two of them are out.
Yeah.
And like that doesn't mean like if after story hour he goes on the over the playground like, Daddy, come on the swings with me. I'm gonna put the iPad down and go on the swings with him for a few minutes.
Yeah.
But I'm able to get out. And honestly, again, the flip side is I really feel like it kind of rejuvenates like the creativity, because it
100%.
breaks the pattern of sitting at a desk or standing at a desk in front of a keyboard and thinking, what do I need to do next?
So let's explore that a point a little bit more, because I think that's maybe a okay. Did you hear that?
I did. Something triggered Alexa.
Did I? I don't think I said anything close to that.
It happens every now and then to me. Like if it just seems to think you said the word,
Okay.
it triggers it.
All right. So back to what I was saying. Let's explore that a little bit, because I think that that's a very interesting way to think about it, that I don't think we do a lot, and I don't think a lot of people think about a lot as an option or a value of the autonomy associated with remote work. And that is, we've been talking about, well, the family went on a trip to this, or I went here for an event, or what, and I worked. But what about the flip side of that coin, where should we also be thinking about, we have freedom of movement, should we be maybe deliberate in wanting to potentially work from somewhere else? Is it wrong for me to think, not necessarily a vacation, but I want to go work from Kalispell, Montana for 2 weeks. I want to see what that's like. And I can do that. I have the ability to do that. Right. So less about working while on vacation, but more deliberately, I want to go work from another location.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like it expands and opens up the possibility of doing more. Because we've talked about it before. Some folks have unlimited vacation time, some don't. But either way, like you only have so much vacation time that you can spend, because as we've talked about, unlimited vacation is not really unlimited, but that's a whole other podcast in and of itself too. where I'm going with that is like, let's say the argument of like, someone has, say an average of 4 weeks of paid time off a year, and they're tethered to their office. They're, believe it or not, very limited because they have 4 weeks to travel and do things. Whereas if I am opening myself up and saying, yes, there are times where vacation is truly vacation. I
Hmm.
am not doing work. I am making sure everything is set, and I am turning on the out of office, and I am not responding. Like there is absolutely vacation time. Like I have one coming up the beginning of next month. First week in July, I am out for the week. I'm at the shore with the family, and I'm not going to be working that week. But then there might be another time where I talk to my wife and exactly like let's go somewhere for a few days. And it's like, okay, like we arrange it where I'll do a couple hours of work in the morning, make sure stuff is moving, and then in the afternoon we go do something as a family. That's what I'm talking about, working from fun locations where you're not burning vacation time if you have a limited amount to travel. It
Yeah.
opens up the possibilities and gives you more opportunities to go and see things.
And if you haven't gotten into this subculture, there is a whole group of people, and there's some amazing YouTubers that have retrofitted RVs, vans to be living quarters slash office, and they're working in marketing, they're working in creative fields, maybe they're designers, maybe they're consultants, and they literally just travel the country, travel the world in their vehicle, and they work out of their vehicle. And I think part of it's kind of the shock value of being able to create these amazing YouTube videos. But I was watching the one the other day with a lady who was a digital designer, and she had her office, quote unquote, backed up against the Teton Mountains. And like, this is incredible. Like, you're telling me you can't be creative with this as your office, as your backdrop. But
Yeah.
that was it, right? It wasn't necessarily she was quote on vacation. She was just exploring the world. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to work from the Tetons for a month. That's going to be my office. And it's like, wow, it's amazing.
I mean, I have a similar goal in the next few years. My wife and I have really started talking about getting a camping trailer. Not doing it right now. Like we don't have a place to store it right now, and in a few years doing that. But we've talked about wanting to do road trips. She has a goal of seeing every national park in the country. This is something that working from the idea of working from unique locations opens up the possibility to do that instead of having to work with work to say I'm taking off a month, which is that realistic? No. But hey, I'm going to be on the road the next 6 weeks. Here's how I plan on making sure things get done. You can go and see those things, and again then still have that time for actual vacation for when yeah, during the 6 weeks I'm taking off these days I'm gonna be out of the office those days. It opens it up. And we've even talked about like when our son reaches like fourth grade or so. I've actually mentioned this to a client. He's 3 right now, so we still have a few years before that. But when he hits fourth grade, homeschooling him for the year, homeschooling him for fourth grade, and doing nothing but road trips because and that's the age like fourth graders are able to get into national parks for free because that's part of like typically what kids are studying that time. So, part of his education is going to be seeing the country. Like we're already planning for that. And I told a client that, and he's like, that is awesome. Here, look into this, look into that. Like he's giving me resources um to this is how you do it. This is how you make that happen.
Yeah.
And like going back to actually your earlier question, like I've actually gotten support when I kind of mention a crazy ass goal. Let's call it what it is. For most people, that would be impossible.
Yeah. And that would be amazing. I Some of my best, most memorable, most valuable educational opportunities were road trips with my grandparents.
Hmm.
So I think that can be amazing. And as a side note, I don't know if you know or connected to Greg Ng, who's the CEO of Brooks Bell.
No.
Okay, you should reach out to him. I don't know if he's fully done or what, but he was on this trek of visiting every national park in the United States, and he was kind of documenting it on Instagram. So
Nice. Okay.
really cool.
Yeah. But that's the goal in 6 years or so to be able to do that. And I have a vision of us being at a campsite and getting up in the morning and me doing my work, my son doing his schoolwork, kind of us, doing stuff like that, maybe cleaning up the camp or whatever we need to do, then heading out for the afternoon and heading out to just to see various sites. Or it could be the inverse, depending upon what we want to see, going out first thing in the morning and then coming back and the two of us getting our work done.
Hold on just a second.
Yeah.
Yeah. The family just arrived back home.
Nice.
Did you see complete tangent? And I don't know that it's 6 years off, but did you see that SpaceX introduced a new product?
No, I did not.
Starlink Rv.
Ooh, okay.
It's a mobile Starlink receiver that you can mount anywhere, and it's mobile, and you can also put it in dark mode. So, like, let's say I'm not traveling next month, you can pause the service and then re-enable it
Interesting.
when you go
Okay.
again.
So it could be
Super
a pay
cool.
as you go kind of thing.
Yeah, on
Nice.
like a month by month basis. So
Yeah, no, I have to look into that. I haven't seen that, but
yeah.
And that's why, like, talking about this, like, I really think the benefits of thinking of it as not just thinking of I'm either working or I'm off. Yes, the lines have been blurred a bit, but with the proper discipline and mindset, it's you can it could be a benefit. It could be, to be corny, it could be a superpower. Whereas
Yeah.
if the wrong mindset, you're right. Like you feel like you're tethered to it. You feel like I either have to be at the office or, and if I'm at the office, I can't travel.
And the reality is, and I'm sure some psychologist or business guru will tell me why I'm completely wrong, but the reality is that I feel like accepting this is that part of who we are as humans is incredibly healthy, because for so long we've seen work as something completely separate from the rest of life, and to the point where we've created these like personas and other people that go to work, and then I'm another person when I'm at home. The reality is that the lines were always blurred. We just refused to admit that, and I think it created a lot of incredibly unhealthy behaviors. I think the first step is admitting that the lines have always been blurred. There is no real distinction between work and life, and by admitting that, I think it puts us in a much better and healthier place, that when we are off doing things that are not work, that we're more present and able to enjoy it. And when we are at work, we're able to do more in less time because we're more present and focused on it, instead of fighting and putting all this energy into trying to separate these things that were never really separated to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. And I do. I think back to earlier in my career when Blackberries were just starting to come out, and my boss got one, and of course I got the gear envy. Oh, that'd be fun to have. Can I get one? He's like, no, seriously, you don't want one. Because I don't want this, but I was forced to have it. He's like, this creates a tether to the office. So, and again, this was early to mid 2000s. So, like, the mindset was you have to come to the office with most people. And definitely at this company, it was like, you come into the office. And they were the ones where it's like, doesn't matter how late you were here last night. Doesn't matter if you were answering emails at 10 p.m. If you're not in your seat by 10 after 9, like, you got shit to deal with. But he was like, no, like this is a tether to the office. They now expect you to be answering emails. So you're right. Like the lines have been blurred for years. And that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. I know people that when they're on vacation, like actually on vacation, they still have their laptop with them. They are still checking email. They're still responding, even though they're out of office. It says they're not. Like, have you ever seen that meme about like out of office from U.S. employees versus European employees?
No.
It goes along the lines of like, here's the out of office for your typical American employee. I'm going to be out of the office from Friday at 9 a.m. to Monday at 9 a.m. If anything comes up, contact this person. If they're not available, call my cell. If not, do this, do that, blah, 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 blah. I'll respond as soon as I can.
Yeah.
The European response is, I'm not here. I'll get back to you at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I think that goes to prove this point that those lines have always been blurred. And I wish I could find the video. I'll have to look for it after we're done recording. But just last week, I saw this video, kind of speaking of the lines being blurred, of this guy that's at his son's baseball practice, and he's like having a sales call or something during the practice, and it's just like so hilariously funny. But again, like, if we don't admit those lines are blurred, we're doing this. We're not present, right? But if we understand, it's like, look, work can happen in these different ways. I can work, and then I can be fully present at my son's event. It completely changes the perspective. And so rather than going back to kind of my question of, yeah, but you're at Disney World, you shouldn't be working, I bet that creeps into everyone's mind anyway. But the fact that we don't admit it means that that mental part of our brain is constantly working on this problem rather than us being present at Disney World.
Yeah.
And if all it takes is us sitting underneath the monorail for an hour, getting a few things done, and now the rest of the day I'm free to focus on that, isn't that better?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think we just squashed all the haters on that one.
Yeah.
But I think it is such an important point because we want to believe that this is introducing a new dynamic that was never here before. But I remember back to 1999, pagers and cell phones, and you're right. Those were the expectation that it doesn't matter if you're at your kid's graduation or if you're at vacation at Disney World. The expectation is that we need to be able to get a hold of you. Those lines were always blurred. We just pretended that it never existed. Nope, I got to keep work, and life, and separate. I'm like, yeah, but you never did that. You just pretended you were doing that, but you really weren't. You had it all intertwined.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about it. Even with the hustle culture we've talked about from time to time. There are no lines with, if anybody who subscribes to the hustle culture, it's you're up at 6 a.m., you get your workout in, you get your breakfast, you get to the office, you're at the office till 9 p.m., you come home, you go to bed, you get up the next morning, you repeat. Like that's what hustle culture sells.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest with you, like what they do is they're selling, like, if you do this now, when you reach, you'll be able to retire when you're 50 or whatever, but you're pushing off something. And in recent years, I've been thinking more and more, and I'm going to get really metaphysical here. Like, we don't know how much time we have.
Right.
And like, I've told people my audacious goal is, like, I want to be working, for lack of a better term, part-time within the next 10 years, so I can go do these things. But also in the meantime, getting to that point, not burning myself out, getting to it, working my way toward that, because like I've really thought about it. Like, you don't know how much time you have. And because I've made no bones about it. Like my grandfather worked for the railroad his entire life, retired, and was dead 18 months later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you and I have had lots of these discussions, and it's fundamental to how we think about business. So many conversations I get into where people look at what we're doing, the value of the brand that we've created, and from a business perspective, I can almost predict what they're going to tell me, and it's going to be like, oh, you guys could be making so much more money, right? And I'm like, I know, but at what point is enough? And we made the decision of, and I want to be really careful on how I talk about this, because people tend to take it the wrong way. Oh, you're lazy. You don't like to do hard things. You can't do challenging things. No, that's not it at all. In fact, I think we've probably accomplished more than most agencies ever dream about accomplishing. So no, we're not scared of hard work. We're not scared of doing very difficult things. But what we were determined and set out to do was to understand that there's no reason to put off enjoying this moment. And we wanted to create a very unique and special work environment where we could do hard things, We could work and solve problems. We could make money and become financially, rich, but not at the cost of delaying enjoying being in the moment. And so, everything that we've done, how we've structured things, hopefully has been in such a way that we've empowered everybody at the company to be able to go out and live life and be in the moment and have the freedom of movement and just enjoy being in the moment and work and provide for your family and be driven to do more, but not have it be all consuming. And our model specifically talks to your goal is that all of our goals is to spend less time hands on keyboard, less time in meetings, but in so doing, create even more value for the people that we're working with. And it's very attainable, you know. Sure, could we expand that out and make more money? Yes, but for how long? Because it's not sustainable. We can make a lot, create a lot of opportunity, work in less time, and have more opportunity to enjoy everything that we've been able to create. It's audacious, but I think unless you're telling me that I'm completely mental and not seeing the world clearly, there are already huge leaps that we've made down the road to that point. And the environment that we've created, I think, speaks for itself, that it is fundamentally different from what many, many people have, to the point where, and I've told you this, I get multiple outreaches a week, oftentimes from people in careers that are completely unaligned with what we do, saying, what can I do? What skills can I bring to 33.6 so I can work at that company because I want what you guys have?
Mm-hmm.
And not to turn this into a marketing episode for our brand, but it is so fundamental. This conversation is so fundamental to why we created what we created.
So one thing what I started to think about when you were talking there is there's a great show on the Magnolia Network. It's I have the Discovery Plus subscription. It's called Restoration Road. So if anyone's ever watched Fixer Upper, the woodworker that they often work with in Waco, Clint Harp, he owns his own business, a woodworking thing. They'll go to him for like furniture, pieces like that. He has his own show there called Restoration Road. So he partners with these two people that have their own restoration companies. And they're part historian, they're part architect, and they're part craftsman. And like watching these episodes, like it's not just redoing a house, like they're finding like a barn from the late 1800s that has just been sitting on this plot of land, and like, oh, it was built by these people, look at this design, look how they did this. And then they'll either restore it or they'll disassemble it and use what they're able to take and rebuild it in some other form elsewhere. And all I could think about is the one guy he partners with on, his name's Kevin Durkin. And like he's like the one who's like part historian. This guy, like he owns his own company, he runs it. But he also spends part of his time traveling the country looking for these old, unique historical structures that are in disrepair to rebuild and repurpose. So he's doing, he's satisfying this other need to go and explore while also running a
Yeah.
high-end premium restoration company. Like they're the ones that like they're charging a premium price. They're not taking just any old job. So they could do fewer jobs well at a higher cost.
I mean, that's exactly what we've set out to do. And I mean, I think it's a proven model that works. And in fact, I think people that crave the autonomy ultimately want that. But I think we're going to get a ton of pushback from people that are so accustomed to literally the rat race. Like, I have to go check into this, office, do work for a set period of time, and then leave. It's just such a foreign concept that you can create something where you have freedom of movement and work and enjoy life and have adventures it sounds unattainable, but to your point and to the example that you just shared, it's absolutely attainable, and people are absolutely doing it. And I think that people, especially those that have a desire to have true mastery of their skills, are going to dictate that they have, either on their own terms, leaving and starting their own thing, or working for companies that support it. Otherwise, you're not going to get those masters anymore. They're not going to put up with being part of the rat race.
No, and I think over the last 2 years, people getting a taste to be able to do that. And yeah, like I have seen an increase in the number of people working from like a retrofitted RV or doing the van life. I don't necessarily want to do the van life permanently, but I do want to get to a point where we can go out and travel, and we
Yeah.
can go out and things, and I can work from weird locations.
Yeah.
Working from Disneyland is a great funny story to tell, but I mean, I've worked from the beach.
Yeah.
I've taken day trips to the beach where we get up, we leave early in the morning, we get down there, we get to the beach, my son starts running around, I quick pull out the phone and like, all right, send a bunch of stuff off, spend 45 minutes there, and then I'm there for the day with my wife and son at the beach.
Yeah. Absolutely. So as we look to wrap up here, I'll kind of bring it back along with that as well to our original topic, which is funnest places to work. I would say, for me, it's not only myself, but it's vicariously living through others. So I think our team is probably tired of me asking, snap a photo, because
Mhm.
it really is meaningful to me to see people working in these other locations. It's very rewarding that what we've been able to create is useful and meaningful to people, and to be able to see those photos is great. And I think a lot about John when he first got to Thailand. Some of my favorite pictures and experiences were vicariously living through him, traveling to these different towns and villages in Thailand and working from co-locations or the beach and snapping a photo. It's like, this is amazing, man. I just don't know how else to put it. This is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and this was a fun conversation, and yeah, I encourage anybody who's gotten a taste of the remote work life and have enjoyed it, take the next step and start exploring.
Yeah.
And it's honestly it's a reminder I have to give myself from time to time, because you get stuck in the, I have to get this done, then I have to get this done, then I have to get this done. Next thing you know, I haven't left my basement office in 3 weeks. Like I've
Yeah.
been here and I need to get out and do something.
And just as
So
a reminder to that point, there's a lot to explore in your own backyard.
yeah.
You don't need to make any great adventure about it.
Yeah, you
There's a
don't even
lot.
have to travel. It's just maybe not wanting to live near a city. It might be something, this case might not, this particular scenario, you might have someone who doesn't necessarily want to travel, but they also don't want to live near a metropolitan area. They want to live out in a rural area.
Yeah.
This makes it possible.
Yeah. Take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
All right.
Awesome. Well, this was a fun conversation.
Yeah. Agreed.
Always love talking this topic and trying to explore it from different perspectives.
Yeah. These are fun conversations.
Cool.
All
All
right.
right, then we'll go ahead and wrap up there and talk to everybody later.
See you.
See ya.